It's not the daytime that hurts the most for single parents. It's at night when the kids are asleep. At this point, all the chores are done, everybody is in bed, and you're on your bed and you start to feel lonely. You start to think about where you should have been, that you are not. You start to think about your mistakes. You start to call yourself a failure. And sometimes you could just be depressed. That's when it hurts the most as a lone parent. I used to be there at some point years back. There were times where I would cry when my daughter is asleep next to me. I would cry. I would think about how I should have done this, how I shouldn't have done that, how I shouldn't have married my ex. You just think about all the negative stuff. You think about school, you want to go to school, you want to further, you want to be great in your career, but you just can't. You're stuck. You think about these things at night and you cry a lot. So that has happened to me a lot, in the past though. But over time, what I do, because honestly it still happens, like this loneliness at night, especially when you can't sleep, I would say it's unending really, because sometimes I still feel that way, but I don't cry anymore. Okay, maybe I do sometimes, but it's not like it used to be. Now it's a lot better, because if I find myself getting into that mode, I just snap out of it. I read it, I get my notepad, I write something down in my journal, or I meditate, read my Bible. Sometimes I pray, or watch series on Netflix, or watch movies on YouTube, or you could just even scroll through your phone on Instagram, on Facebook. There's so many videos, there's so many funny stuff. You could watch reels, and before you know, you fall asleep. Or alternatively, if you have close and trusted family and friends that you could call at that time of the night, or text or voice note each other, that also works. That's fine. Yeah, these are two things that works for me, and I believe it will work for you as well. And at this point, one thing you should avoid is texting toxic people. Avoid texting toxic people at this time. If you have friends or family that always makes you feel less of yourself, that always makes you remember where you are not, that makes you remember your mistakes and everything that should have been, avoid texting them at this time. Sometimes those are the people that, I don't know how that works, but those are the people that come to your mind when you need someone to talk to, because they are usually chatty, they have this sugar coated tongue, and they always have something to say. They are bubbly, they are chatty people, and you would want to chat them. But whenever you feel that way, always remind yourself, always ask yourself, yeah, I can chat with this person and feel good and blah blah blah, but at the end of this call, at the end of this conversation with this type of people, or with these specific people, how do I feel? If you remember to ask yourself that question before you text or call them, then you would know to hold back. So yeah, never text toxic people that make you feel bad, people that remind you that you're a failure. Ironically, they do it ironically. They won't just put it in your face, but they are just ways to let you know that you are down and you are not up as you should be. So avoid texting these people when you are lonely at night. My earlier two options would be better. They've worked a lot for me. They can work for you too. So pray, meditate, get a book, write a journal. Sometimes I tell people about my story and they're like, Ella, you should write a book. So yeah, if you feel like you want to write a book about your story, get a journal at that time. Just write, just scribble something. Before you know, it's a whole lot, and just make a book. So yeah, so these are the things you should do at night when the kids are asleep and you are lonely. And remember, tomorrow is just a day away. No matter how badly you feel at night, when tomorrow comes, you know that you have to wake up, you have to do school runs, you have to do chores, and you forget about the night. So don't let that night creep into your morning. Tomorrow is just a day away. No matter how bad you feel, it's just temporal. So yeah, so that's it. So I hope a single mom or a single dad watching this right now will try this method when you feel lonely at night.